God damn, Jimmy. This some serious gourmet shit. Me and Vincent would have been satisfied with some freeze-dried Taster's Choice, right? And he springs this serious gourmet shit on. What flavor is this?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 7 of Tomorrow's Fights. We are a mixed martial arts podcast breaking down UFC 219 tonight. I'm your host, Matthew Catalano, and with me, as always, Matt Smith and Matt Branskin.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
What's up, my friends? So, before we dig into UFC 219, just some quick updates on the card before we give our initial impressions. So, of course, this lost Jimmy Rivera versus, who was it? It would have been Marlon Moraes. That's off the card. It also lost Gokhan Saki, who's the kickboxer who was just beat, who was it? Enrique Silva.
Yeah,
so,
crazy.
anyways, yeah. So I'm a little bit bummed about that, but just wanted to follow everybody up. The pay-per-view card is 5 cards now. They moved up Mark Diakiese versus Dan Hooker to the pay-per-view. They were headlining Fox Sports 1. So now there's 4 fights on Fox Sports 1, 1 fight on Fight Pass, and then you have a 5-fight pay-per-view. So that's everything up to date. Still headlined by Cyborg Holly Holm.
What happens if everybody gets a knockout in the prelims? How are they going to fill 2 hours?
Oh, they fill it all the time, dude. They'll have Bisping and Cara Bryant and Paul Felder up in the booth talking about bullshit, you know.
They'll have 17 different commercials for UFC 220.
Oh, exactly. That's actually a damn good card.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, initial impressions on 219 as it stands now. How do you guys feel?
I mean, this is still a great card. This is still one of those buy 'em cards. You know, one of the ones you want to pluck down $50-$60 for. I mean, I'd pay $60 just for the Nurmagomedov Barboza fight. You know, and then Cyborg Holm. That's also. I mean, that could be outstanding. Anything could happen in that fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just upset that the Nurmagomedov Barboza fight is only 3 rounds. That's a damn shame.
I mean, I don't think we're gonna know what we need to know before the end of the first round. I don't think we're gonna have any questions after round 1. What's gonna happen for the rest of the fight? You know.
I hear you. What about you, Smith? What's your 1 to 10?
I actually like this card a lot. I think there's going to be a lot of upsets. I think we're actually going to not predict this right. I can tell you right now.
All right, fair enough.
I'm batting like 99%. I'm still feeling it. Other than this Hooker Diakiese fight, I have no idea. I think I might have seen this. How do you pronounce his last name?
Diakiese.
Diakiese. Was he?
I thought it was Diakiese.
Was he on the show where they were picking to see who fought Mighty Mouse? Is that
No, but he fought Drakkar Klose last, who's that undefeated wrestler who he was undefeated until he just lost to David Tamor. Remember Drakkar Klose up there with best MMA names with Curtis Razor Blades.
Yeah.
But he's like a French kickboxer, and he's super dynamic, and he was undefeated before he ran into Drakkar Klose. So that fight, the Dan Hooker Diakiese fight, reeks of get our prospect back on track type of deal. I think Dan Hooker is being brought in to be a punching bag, basically.
Get laid out.
Yep, get laid out.
Mm.
He's tough as nails, though, so who knows? All right, well, anyways, let's jump right into the prelims. Quick disclaimer, we're not going to cover every single prelim in the interest of time. What we do like to do is we'll each pick our most intriguing fight of the prelims, and we'll break that down. Then we'll pick our breakout fighter of the prelims. That's someone who's on a win streak with a big win, could really become something special or perhaps reach stardom. And then we'll do our pink slip fighter of the card, who is at risk of getting cut with a loss. So let's do intriguing fight first. What do you care about the most on the prelims? I'm going to start us off, and I'm going to bring it into the flyweight division. Louis Smolka versus Matthew Nicolai. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but Smolka, he looked like he was going to be groomed for a Demetrius Johnson title shot, once he beat the brakes off Ben Nugent.
Hmm.
And Smoke is like real long for that division. And I think he trains actually with Max Holloway and Yancy Medeiros. He's out of that Hawaiian crew. And I think he's like 5'11" for the flyweight division. He's got pretty good top game. But dude, he's just ran into some issues. I mean, he's on a 3-fight losing streak. He could blame the first fight on the weight cut, and then he just ran into some tough guys. He got guillotined by Brandon Moreno, which is what propelled Brandon Moreno into that #1 contenders fight with Sergio Pettis, which wasn't really #1 contenders, but yeah. So Nicolau, on the other hand, he's from Brazil, and he's on like a 9-fight win streak or something. He's won his first 2 fights in the UFC, so if he beats Louis Smolka, then that could be his breakout fight into a Demetrius Johnson title shot, or at least into a #1 contenders fight. Who knows what Mighty Mouse is doing next, whether he's fighting Dillashaw or not. So that's my call for, my eyes are going to be on that fight on the prelims.
Yeah, that's an interesting fight. I don't know if we want to move all the way to it yet, but Smoker might be my guy on the chopping block. He might be the guy looking for his pink slip. He might not be with him, being in that 125-pound division where there's not a whole lot of depth. With him at one time looking like he was going to be a blue chip prospect, but 3 losses, looking at possibly a 4th loss with this Brazilian kid he's fighting. He might be on the chopping block, but yeah, I might say that might be the most interesting one for those reasons. For me, it might be Miles Jury. He only 2 losses in the UFC. They were both to tough competitors. He had that time off. Seems like he's back on track now. We hadn't seen him, from 2015 all the way to 2017. I can't remember. Was he injured?
Yeah, he was injured, and then he did he moved weight classes from 55 to 45. Whenever I think about Miles Jury, I just think how he has his like jury jiu-jitsu type of thing. You ever heard him talk about that? And he was kind of dogging Charles Oliveira before they fought, and Oliveira just went in there and just fucking beat the brakes off.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, though, Oliveira came in uber heavy for that fight too.
That could be
like
totally
it was Miles's first fight down there, wasn't it? Down at and then so he cuts down for the first time down to 45, and then his opponent comes in, weighing 6 pounds heavy, and then he ends up getting submitted. So it's kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
And then his only other loss is to Donald Cerrone, who he can put anybody's lights out at any given time.
Right.
That might be my pick for most interest. Actually, that is my pick for the most interesting fight. I want to see Miles, see what he's got, see where he's going, and remember, he might be my breakout fighter.
Yeah, and remember, he's fighting Rick Glenn, who Rick Glenn was he was in World Series of Fighting. He came into the UFC at an 18-3 record, and he's like a real long lightweight. Is he dropping to featherweight then? Is this fight at featherweight?
It's at 155, right? Or no?
I don't. Is it?
So is
no,
it back
it's
up
at featherweight. It's at 145. So, yeah. So that means, I guess Rick Glenn is moving down to 145, or maybe that's his natural weight class. Okay, yeah, no, it is. Because he came into the UFC on late notice to fight Evan Dunham, lost to him, then he beat Philippe Novaire, and then he beat the shit out of Gavin Tucker, who was supposed to be this like high-flying prospect.
Dude, that man is 6 foot, and he's fighting at 145?
Yeah. Dude, I mean, look at Louis Smolka. He's 5'11", and he's fighting at 125. But, yeah, I think that'll be a good fight.
I feel like you got to cut a lot of weight in order to get 145 at that height.
Well, you just got to be fucking lanky as hell too, right? I mean,
look at them. They're not carrying around a whole lot of extra fat or muscle.
He does look like skin and bones.
Yeah, that'll be a good fight though. That might be a little too much for Rick Glenn there, if I had to guess. But anyways, both good picks. Smith, what are you excited for on the prelims?
I actually like that fight right there. So that's probably what I'm excited for. It's Miles Jury and Rick Glenn.
Miles Jury is coming in at -240. Rick Glenn is the underdog at +190. And then going back to the Louis Smolka fight at flyweight, Louis Smolka comes in at the dog at +230. Matthias Nicolau back at -300. Damn, that's a little wider than I would have thought. Yeah, so not a terrible prelim card. I mean, you got Tim Elliott on the Fight Pass card. Everybody knows who he is at. Oh, he's moving up to bantamweight. Damn. And then on the prelims, you have 4 fights on Fox Sports 1. I'm worried that's going to go so slow. I mean, yeah, like even like Smith said, if there's a lot of finishes, we could be watching a fuck ton of NASCAR commercials.
Mm. The general.
The general, yeah.
Gracious.
Oh, you guys got the general down there? Guess
Yeah.
he's all
No,
over.
I just know it's on every
sure he's
FS1 prelim, like 50 damn commercials for the thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, even if every fight goes to decision, that's going to fill up 2 hours, and that's going to drag. If every fight ends in a finish, then we're going to be watching a hell ton of commercials. So, I think either way, we're going to lose on the Fox Sports 1 prelims. What can you say? I mean, this card lost, like, I think it was a 13-fight card. It's down to 11 now, and they lost too many fights at the end.
But the main card is decent. It is pretty damn
main
good.
card is good. That's right. That's the other card. That's the other fight that they lost. Kamaru Usman and Emil Meek were supposed to fight on this pay-per-view, and they got bumped to the next card. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Usman is one to watch. That guy is dynamic as hell. Yeah.
One more.
Nobody wants a piece of that guy.
We will get Dominic Cruz in the booth for this card, which is fun. I love hearing him in the commentator booth.
So it'll be Cruz, Rogan, and Anik for this card.
I think so. It's in Vegas, right?
Yeah, and I know Rogan is going to be in Vegas this weekend, so I'm sure he's there for the fight.
It should be Rogan, Cruz, and Anik, which I like that trio. If we can't get DC, then I like that.
Yeah, I was going to say my second best trio.
Okay, so that moves us on to breakout fighter of the prelims. Branscombe, who are we going to pick for that?
Breakout fighter, I would say Miles Jury. I mean, if he could put Glenn away, look spectacular doing it. I'm hoping that he stays injury free. Like I said, everybody was high on this kid when he first came out. He's had a couple of tough losses, but 2 top flight opponents. So that's my pick, Jury.
Yeah, he was the guy on the Ultimate Fighter who was undefeated and the favorite to win that show.
But though I've never heard of either of these guys, Marvin Vettori or Omari Akhmedov, they look the part. If I were to make characters in a UFC MMA fighting game, these two would definitely be in there.
The Italian Dream and the Wolverine.
Oh goodness, they look. I mean, great names.
Resets.
One's got the tats, one's got the bald head and just hairy forearms. I mean, these guys look the part.
I mean, that'll be a good fight. We've seen Akhmedov. He's actually the underdog there, but yeah. Anyways, all right, Smith, who's your breakout fighter of the prelims?
I have to agree, Miles Jury.
Yeah. I remember he was undefeated for so long, and then he was 15-0 before he ran into Donald Cerrone. You remember when he beat Diego Sanchez? That's what happened. He beat Diego Sanchez, and he was like, "Hey, that wasn't even hard."
And you know what? Those 2 losses are great losses for him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you grow from those losses.
Do you guys remember when Diego Sanchez was like 18-0? He was
Yeah.
like my favorite fighter of all time when I was younger.
You remember
my favorite meme mug?
That was my favorite BJ Penn fight of all time.
Dude,
Oh yeah.
they're just
He just
him and
took
BJ
his
Penn.
soul.
I don't know, man. They had great fights, dude. They're just
Yeah.
wild.
What was that? What was his last really? Gilbert Melendez. Diego Sanchez. Yeah,
So long
beautiful.
ago.
Beautiful fight though.
That must have been. I'm gonna say 2011. Let me look it up.
My memory's shoddy. If it's less than 8 to 10 years ago anymore, I start thinking, it was just the other day.
It's 2000. It's 2013. Okay, it wasn't as long ago as I thought, but that's still coming on 5 years. Whatever. Okay. Anyways, yeah, Miles Jury, 16-2, coming off a win, looking to build up at 145 and maybe eventually chase some Max Holloway business. Who knows? Okay, and then my breakout fighter of the prelims is Matthias Nicolau, who is on a long win streak at flyweight. One of the only alive contenders that haven't been bested by Mighty Mouse yet. That's why I think there's maybe going to be some hype around him if he keeps going on a win streak. His last win is over John Moraga, who's just a perennial 125 contender there. They really, really need people to fight Mighty Mouse at 125 if they're not going to make the Dillashaw fight. So
my hope is that they, maybe Nicolau goes in and fights one more match, one more good fight, and then gets in there with I'm drawing a blank, wrestler.
Cejudo?
Yeah, ends up fighting Cejudo because I believe Mighty Mouse's next fight is gonna. I'm hoping that Mighty Mouse's next fight is gonna be against Dillashaw. That's what that division needs for a marquee fight, event topper event.
Yeah, and I hope Mighty Mouse gets paid for that too.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, which leads us to our last topic before we jump into the main card breakdowns. Who is your pink slip fighter of the card? I think we're all gonna agree here.
Smoka.
But,
He's really the only guy on a serious losing streak. But you know what? I still don't think, even if he drops 4 in a row, I don't think he'll get cut.
No, I
just
don't think
because
so either. It'd be one more fight.
Yeah, I think he's a name in the flyweight division who is desperate for names, and he's a great guy to build prospects off of. That's kind of what I think they're doing with this fight. So, yeah.
How old is he?
He's 26. He's young.
At 26, young. I mean, he's also, he's got 2 performance of the night and 1 fight of the night bonus.
The thing is, people know who he is, and
Right.
that's what you need. Flyweight's not a popular division. There's only a couple fighters that I would say the casual fans really know, and he's one of them. So I think he'll stick around even if he loses to Nikolai on Saturday. Okay, that brings us to the pay-per-view, which, if this order is to be believed, they're going to open up with Carlos Condit, the return of Carlos Condit versus Neil Magney at welterweight. Condit obviously has been away for some time. He's sort of semi-retired after that Damian Maia loss. Neil Magney is coming off that destruction by Rafael dos Anjos. Just got out-grappled. And Condit is still coming in at the favorite. He's minus 165. Neil Magney coming back at plus 135. Branscombe, start us off.
I'm gonna have to go with Carlos Condit. I don't understand why he's been. How long has he been gone? It's been over 2 years.
Let me give you this fact check real quick.
No, it's been
just
a year and a couple months.
A year and a half.
Year and a half.
I mean, I think I hate to say it because I love Neil Magney, but I think we've seen the ceiling of his, the performances he's going to have. I think Carlos Condit is one of those guys that's a perennial. He might be at number 8 now, but a couple of wins, he'd easily be in the top 5 in any division. He's fought forever. He's fought for titles in multiple different organizations. I just think he's all around the better fighter. I hope Neil Magney, continues to fight. He puts on some entertaining shows, whether he's winning or losing. But I think Carlos, is able to control the distance, able to keep it off the ground, and keep Magney at the end of a stiff jab. Neil Magney, the thing that sucks about him is he's good at everything, but not great at anything. And they end up putting him in there with someone, who's better than him at striking, which I think is the case this time. And he's going to be out there getting boxed up and kicked up. And, he's not going to be able to be strong enough in his wrestling to kick Carlos Condit down,
He's like the 6.5, 7 out of 10 in every category, like fighter from the video game.
Exactly. But he's a great guy, great fighter, fun to watch. Like I said, win or lose. But I think Carlos has got enough tools to beat him.
It's funny you say that because his last 3 losses, if you look at them all, they're to 2 submission specialists and
Right.
one striking specialist, and it's really like he can't match that area of expertise when he goes against those guys.
I wouldn't call Rafael dos Anjos a submission specialist.
No,
I'd say he's an MMA fighter all around. He might have a background first in BJJ, but his kickboxing is up there. I mean, we've seen him.
You know what I mean? He developed into a complete fighter.
Yeah, and he roughhoused him at 170 pounds, where Magney has been forever, and Rafael is coming up to, and the loss to
I really couldn't agree with you more. My notes that I've been taking for both fighters, it just has Condit all day. So he's just a way better all-around fighter too. He's just going to outclass him everywhere in the ring. So I feel bad for Neil Magney because I don't, he's definitely a great fighter, but he's definitely going to get outclassed in the ring for sure.
Yeah, I don't have a ton to add on to what you guys said. Neil Magney is kind of that well-rounded, knows how to win rounds fighter, but when he meets a potent offense that he just can't protect himself against, that's when we see him lose, whether it's Lorenz Larkin just blitzing him with kicks or Damian Maia just making him look like a white belt on the mat. Carlos Condit isn't that devastating of a striker. He's an effective striker. I think he's got enough, even if he's most of what he was when we last saw him. I think he's got enough in the tank to beat Neil Magney. I don't see a finish here, though. I think it'll be like a 30-27, 29-28 type of deal. But if Carlos Condit, man, if he's like not feeling it, not motivated, feeling old, and just doesn't generate enough offense, Neil Magney sneaks in there with a high output boxing game.
Well,
that's what Magney's good at. He's good at grinding out rounds. So
I just don't see him able to impose himself like that, though. Not in a striking game. I think if it's going to be Magney's win, he's going to have to take him down.
If Carlos is going to come back, he's going to do it for a reason, and hopefully he's going to give it his all. You know what I mean? Like, or why else come back?
He's fighting out of Jackson's too, like Jackson Wink, right? They always got their guys prepared with a game plan. They've dissected Magney, I'm sure. Condit's got great kicks. I mean, he's definitely a better kicker than Magney, and we've seen Magney have trouble with kickers like Lorenz Larkin, like Rafael dos Anjos. So, yeah, Condit's my pick as well. I just can't. I think Magney has hit his ceiling, kind of like you guys said, and I think he might even be tapering down a little bit after that long run he had. He's been fighting for a while, man. He's got a lot of fights.
He might have just need some time to get off that grind, because I mean, God, he's fought 9-10 times in the last 2 years. He's put it on himself. They say he's a workhorse in the gym too. Nobody else outworks him in the gym. I mean, you put that many fights and that many training camps on the body, and he might just need to take a year off.
It's true. I mean, we've seen what happened to Donald Cerrone when he's taking fights like that. He goes from long win streaks to long losing streaks. I just think Neil Magney is one of the clearest examples of, we've seen the best out of him, and we've seen what happens when you put him in there with somebody better. And even if you look at Magney's long win streak, those guys are not on the level of the guys that he lost to. He's a little bit higher than a gatekeeper. Neil Magney is. And
journeyman. He's a good journeyman fighter.
He's a good journeyman, kind of like Matt Brown developed in. He just beats the guys he's supposed to beat, loses to the guys he's supposed to lose to, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think Carlos Condit is going to be another one of those guys that he's supposed to lose to. So, all right, we're all taking Condit to return. And, man, it's good to see him back. He's always fun to watch. And he was just right there in the title picture. And a lot of guys thought he beat Robbie Lawler, so who knows? Okay, moving on. The pay-per-view carries on with women's strawweight Cynthia Calvillo versus Carla Esparza. Carla Esparza, the very first women's strawweight champion ever. This fight is at 115 pounds. She, of course, lost the belt to Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Cynthia Calvillo is undefeated. Does she train at the Diaz brothers?
No, she trains out of Alpha Male, doesn't she?
Yeah, you're right. Okay,
yeah.
Yes. She trains out of Alpha Male. She's a very talented submission grappler, although she likes to... recently, she likes to strike a lot. Anyways, going to the odds. Cynthia Calvillo is minus...
250?
Minus 260, and Carla Esparza is plus 200, and that's... How do you guys feel about those odds before we dissect this?
I think it seems about right.
I'm totally fine with that. You think Esparza should not be as big of a dog, Branscombe? What do you think?
Yeah, I've seen both of these girls fight. I know Cynthia Calvillo is riding, a 6-0 record right now, but I mean, look at it, you might recognize two names on that whole thing. Joanne Calderwood, who is a tough fighter, but not necessarily the upper echelon of the division. Not one of those people you would say is the best fighter out there, even at 115 pounds, which doesn't have as many fighters in it. And Amanda Cooper. Esparza, I've seen her. I watched her in the show. She is one of those tough fighters that can grind out a win. She knows how to take you down at the end of a fight. I remember that random Marcos fight was kind of odd. It could have gone, either. It just wasn't a great performance by either person. But you got to remember, Esparza is tough enough to have beat Rose Namajunas, and not only beat her, but shut her down completely. I don't understand why she's a 200. Shit. I'll you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and call her. I'm gonna call her.
She's brawling too much, dude, and she doesn't like to get hit. That's why. And that's what's gonna happen this match too. She's gonna get hit. She's gonna get tired out, and she's not gonna be able to deal with it. And to be honest with you, Cynthia has got a decent ground game too to back her punching.
Really,
up,
really good ground game. I think that's her best attribute.
I like Carla, and she did beat Rose, right? But at the end of the day, I don't see her winning this.
Did she beat Rose? Like way back?
Yeah. No, she beat her for the title. Remember, she was the first title holder. She beat Rose Namajunas, and she smashed her.
That was before Rose.
That was like also a submission too. Like,
it wasn't before Rose was who Rose was, because I remember watching that.
She was not running on all cylinders there. I'll just say that.
She got smashed.
That was like when Brad Pickett beat Mighty Mouse at 135 before he was really Mighty Mouse. That's how I feel about that.
Okay.
That win. Anyways, yeah, this is actually a fun fight and a fun fight to talk about. Branscombe, our wrestling extraordinaire, for the listeners who don't know, has over 20 years of wrestling experience. So what I wanted to ask you about, Carla Esparza is one of the only fighters I see that like shoots doubles with her knees on the ground. Have you noticed that? Like she has fundamental wrestling. She knows what she's supposed to do, and she just does it. But she doesn't necessarily like adapt to the situation she's in. She's just like, okay, time to shoot a double. Like, this is how you're supposed to shoot a double. Got my arms, gonna turn the corner, and she puts herself in like some guillotine positions, which usually she gets out of. Okay, nice. But I mean, if Pearl Gonzalez can wrap a guillotine around her, granted, not finish it, but lets herself be in the position, Cynthia Calvillo is going to finish that. Cynthia Calvillo is she's got a stellar ground game. She's just sneaking to the back of everybody she's fighting. When I see Cynthia Calvillo fight, I think like this is the type of girl where if you put her in there with Paige Van Zandt, she would just embarrass her. If Paige Van Zandt is like the bookmark of where talent is at 115.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Is there a reason most fighters don't like putting their knees on the ground in a takedown in MMA? Like, I have to assume it's because they don't want to put themselves in a scramble immediately. I don't know. What's your take on that?
I believe Carla is not worried as much as maybe a 175-pound male might be about getting wrapped up by someone. The arm strength, the upper body strength. To finish a offside guillotine, arm in guillotine, which is normally what you're going to get when someone shoots a hard double. I don't believe she does it. She sets up with punches decently, and she gets deep in on her shots. And if you get your head caught when you're deep in on a shot and you're coming around the corner, I don't mind it myself. If you've got your arm around my neck, I know that I'm going to be able to pass that leg.
You'll step over, right? Yeah, you'll step over.
Right, and she not only is one of those wrestlers that she started, I believe, in like middle school, went all the way through college, all 4 years of college wrestling. So that's a long time for her to get those patterns ingrained in her. What I like is that she went back to her to her coach that she had been with before she went away to college. And, when he's yelling instructions in the corner, I don't know if you've seen this, but he's like, I need a takedown right now. I mean, you can hear him yell it and then you see her do it, just like Mark Henry and Frankie Edgar. You see him out, Mark Henry out there yelling the instructions, Frankie Edgar in there, implementing the game plan that he's supposed to. And I like that about Carla. I haven't seen enough of Cynthia. Yeah, I watched the Joanne Calderwood fight. I seen her against Amanda Cooper. I don't know if I saw the fight that was on 210.
Pro Gonzalez.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that fight, but I'm impressed with her. I think she's good, but and she's in a great camp. But I have seen a lot of Esparza. I think Esparza is gonna eke this one out.
Yeah, that's all accurate. The only thing I'll add to Calvillo, and I am picking Calvillo here, I just think Carla Esparza, dude, she does. You're right. She shoots when she's supposed to shoot. We watch so many good ground fighters, and it's so frustrating to see them not initiate the takedown and not put the fight where they're strong. When you're just staring at the screen, screaming like, "Get it to the ground!" Carla Esparza does that. She'll shoot like 30 times a fight. She doesn't care, and that's kind of what Calvillo, I think, should have done with Joanne Calderwood. She stayed on the feet for way too long in that fight, and I wasn't sure who was gonna have their hand raised at the end. Like, yeah, I thought Calvillo won, but it was too close, and I don't know why she didn't take it to the ground. So I always get a little bit worried when you see these prospects kind of fight with a poor fight IQ. But in this example, Calvillo, I think, has even better striking than Esparza does. Esparza, for her technique, and she does set up her takedowns with strikes, yes. She does have good technique in her entries. But, man, she is slow. She's slow and wooden on the feet. She's slow with her takedowns. I think she will get some takedowns, but I mean, even in the last Calvillo fight, she locked up a triangle on Pearl Gonzalez as soon as it hit the ground. Pearl took her down in the second round with a single leg, and she just popped right to her back. I think Carla's going to put herself in positions that Calvillo is going to take advantage of, and I think we're going to see a submission just somewhere along 15 minutes. So I got to go with Calvillo here. Smith, who are you taking? You said Calvillo, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so our first dissension, Branscombe sees it for Esparza.
Picking the plus 200 dog, 250 dog, right?
Oh, I've got a couple underdogs I'm going to be picking soon.
All right, well, with that said, let's move on to the third fight on the pay-per-view. This is at lightweight. This was, of course, supposed to be on Fox Sports 1, but got bumped up to the pay-per-view, which I'm fine with. If they had to bump up any of the prelim fights, I'm glad it's this one. Mark Diakiese versus Dan Hooker. Like I said in the beginning of the show, this is a clear bring Dan Hooker in here to get laid out against our prospect Mark Diakiese type fight. But damn, Dan Hooker is tough as nails. His 3 losses in the UFC to Maximo Blanco, Jason Knight, and who was the other guy? Oh, yeah, Rodriguez. All decisions. He made it to the bell with all 3 of those guys who we know are potent finishers. And, man, you want to see a zombie fight in the octagon? Just watch his fight against Maximo Blanco. I think he must have taken like 100 shots to the head. Anyways, so this is the perfect fight for Mark Diakiese to look good in. Let me read the odds, and then I'll let you guys pick at it real quick. Mark Diakiese, the French kickboxer, is minus 185. And Dan Hooker's coming back at plus 150. So maybe a little closer than some people think. I think that's all because of Dan Hooker's toughness and because of Mark Diakiese's poor fight IQ, but that's just my opinion. So who wants to dig into this first?
I don't know a whole lot about either fighter. I do know that I've seen each of them fight one time. It would be I'm with the odds makers. It's probably a pick 'em. Go ahead.
If you had to choose somebody right now, who would you think? You gonna go with a more aggressive fighter or Dan Hooker? That's probably gonna be, I don't know. He's more of a more patient counter fighter.
I'm gonna have to go with Spike from the Gremlins there, down Mark Diakiese there, and I'm gonna pick that. He just looks scary.
So Mark Diakiese, that I actually have him also as probably winning this fight. But the interesting thing is, I think Mark is definitely stronger. He's more aggressive. He throws huge bombs in his combos. But Dan Hooker at the same time, he definitely is battle tested. So if it goes the distance, I think if Mark gets a little sloppy, Dan Hooker could actually lay him out. Mm-hmm. But I'm still going to give this to Mark.
I could see that. And you know what's funny about Dan Hooker? He's the typical win lose UFC fighter and all his losses are decisions. Like, he's tough as hell, but he's got some really good wins too. He TKO'd Hatsu Hayoki when he was doing pretty well, and then he KO'd what's his name, Ross Pearson with a knee in his last fight. So he's coming off a win there. And then before that, before his loss to Jason Knight, he guillotined Marca Diva, I believe. So Dan Hooker, this is at lightweight. He's super tall and lanky for lightweight. And the guillotine he got, Branscombe, it was one of those who's that guy who had all his submission wins by guillotine, and he was fighting out of Alaska? Cody McKenzie. Cody McKenzie. Yeah. His guillotines are like that McKenzatine. He's got these long arms and he gets it under his neck, and then he takes his other hand and he just wrenches it up. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's fucking savage. So I mean, who's saying he can't do that again against Mark Diakiese?
Who was the fighter that destroyed Mark with leg kicks? Was that his last fight?
Drakkar Klose.
Okay. So that'd be interesting to see if Dan implements that into his game. Because he got wrecked by him, and it almost looked like he had never been hit by a leg kick before. He was just getting destroyed.
Yeah, that was strange. He didn't check him or anything. He fell down to his back. That's what lost him. That's what lost him the first round that he was doing so well against. But my thing with Mark Diakiese is he's another one of these prospects that just has poor fight IQ. He went into that Drakkar Klose fight, and Drakkar Klose is just a good, strong wrestler, good clinch fighter. And he spent way too much time grappling. And my theory on that fight is in the very beginning, he's in the clinch with Drakkar Klose, and Klose is going for old-fashioned foot stomps, a la Chris Lieben. And as he picks his foot up to land a foot stomp, Mark Diakiese just takes him down with a body lock, while he's on one leg. And it was beautiful. He sits on top, lays some ground and pound. Drakkar Klose stands up. And then as he's standing up, he lays him out with another trip takedown, or maybe it was a suplex. So right in the first round, in the first 3 minutes, it looks like Mark Diakiese is out grappling Drakkar Klose. And I think that just put it in his head of hey, I'm gonna beat this guy at where his game's best. And then that backfired, and he ended up losing the next 2 rounds. And so it's just man, he spent way too much time grappling in the clinch with Drakkar Klose when he should have been disengaging and striking. And it's one of those things, even if Mark Diakiese makes the mistake of fighting where Dan Hooker is strong, which is the clinch and mid-range, and he's still better than Dan Hooker there. He's a better wrestler. He's a better grappler. Probably the only thing he's worse at would be just maybe submissions off of transitions. Dan Hooker gets a lot of guillotines from takedowns, but I don't think Mark Diakiese is gonna shoot. He doesn't shoot doubles or singles. If he takes you down, it's from a clinch body lock or a trip or a suplex, and he still grapples way too much for me. But I think maybe this time he'll learn and disengage and just blow up Dan Hooker against the fence in round 2 or something, or maybe they'll be stuck in the clinch and Dan Hooker will be getting hurt. He'll drop down for a takedown and just eat a huge Diakiese knee or something like that. And then we'll see Mark Diakiese do some Eddie Gordon breakdancing in the middle of the cage again, back on his winning ways. So I favor Diakiese here. It's funny that the odds makers have it so close. Probably, I'll go with Smith here. Is Dan Hooker is tough and he's a good counter striker, and if Diakiese gets really lazy or really tired for whatever reason, Dan Hooker's the guy that'll take you over and take you out.
Mm-hmm.
But
he's very patient, actually.
Yeah, he's patient. He's very tall and long arms. As long as Diakiese doesn't fight stupid, which, as we said, he totally could, he should have this one in the bag at range. I mean, there's no reason Mark Diakiese can't do to Dan Hooker what Yair Rodriguez did and what Maximo Blanco did. So I think Dan Hooker's tough. He'll be there for all 3 rounds, but I gotta give Mark Diakiese the decision win for this one.
So we're all in agreement on that one?
Yep, but don't bet on that one. I mean,
yeah, that is true.
That could be one of the underdog, keep your eye out for it. So, okay, moving along to the co-main event, and this is like really what this card's about for me. This is what I care about the most. Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Edson Barboza at lightweight. And let me just read the odds to you. Yeah, have you guys looked at the odds yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Branscombe, who do you think's the favorite? First of all,
I would say Nurmi is the favorite.
Right, of course. Now, and what do you think? Give me a ballpark. What do you think he is?
I wouldn't say put him at maybe -200, maybe -250. Just I would say it would be somewhere in that neck. Maybe if Vegas doesn't like the fact that he's still going down to 155 when he shouldn't be, maybe they've got him at like 170, -150, 175.
What I saw like an hour ago was like -280.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you weren't that far off when you were saying -250. He's -300 right now.
Damn.
Yeah, which is, I mean, I get it. I get it, I guess, but that's fucking heavy odds for a guy that hasn't fought in a while, didn't fight last time because he didn't even make weight, and Barboza's clearly a better striker than him and on a good run. But anyways, yeah. So
well, let me put it to you like this: whenever John Jones was out, for running over pregnant ladies with his car, he was out for a year. Were you surprised when he came back in his first fight? He was -280, -3 up against his,
No,
it's not different. Nurmagomedov has never lost a round.
But
he's been hurt one time.
That's
he's destroyed everyone. The former lightweight champ, the Rafael dos Anjos, he mollywopped him. He picked him up, slapped him, threw him around all over, whatever he wanted to. Michael Johnson picked him up, threw him around, did whatever he wanted to with him. Everybody he's been in the ring with, after about 45 seconds, you see on their face a total look of "I give up. This is stupid," as you go flying through the air. And I love Edson Barboza. He's one of those dudes that has, I'm going to say he has great wrestling because he has great anti-wrestling. He can keep you off of him and stay off the mat. He knows he doesn't want to be there. And his kicks, his knees, his punches, all of it are on a whole nother level of almost anybody else in the ring right now. I mean, it comes at you so fast, so hard, and his timing is so perfect. But I still believe, that's why I said earlier, we'll know by the end of the first round what we need to know. We'll know if Edson Barboza has enough in him to keep it at range and to even if he does get clinched up a little bit, to stay off the mat, or we'll know whether or not, Nurby's going to be throwing this guy around, giving him frequent flyer miles.
Yeah, I hear you there. I guess I was surprised when the odds were that wide. This is one of those fights, like right when it got announced, I thought like, okay, this is fun because like you said, Barboza has some good anti-wrestling, clear better striker, not even close. I mean, Michael Johnson was tagging up Nurmagomedov on the feet.
He got a good shot in.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess
the question is,
I still have questions.
Who are you guys picking?
I'm going. Hey, if it's either Nurmagomedov wins or the scale wins. In my eyes, he either doesn't make weight tomorrow, or his body completely shuts down on him on his way to the scales. But from what I understand, from what everybody's saying, of course, I think we heard this before the Tony Ferguson fight, that we've got it all under wraps now. This is okay. But they said he was at 179 in the middle of last week, which is way lower than he normally is going into this thing. So if he can make it on the scale and he's healthy enough to fight the next day, I think he runs away with it. If he doesn't submit him, he wins an easy 3-round decision.
Yeah, I could see that. Smith, I feel like you got something to say. You're gonna descend here.
I think that Barboza has this in the bag. I actually do. I think this is going to be the fighter that actually does it for Khabib. And obviously he's got strong wrestling, but I think Barboza is just a way better, well-rounded fighter. In every, he's so good, and I don't think Khabib is going to be ready for this. That's my opinion on it.
They both come from great camps. I don't think either of them are not going to be prepared for the other person in this one. I just think Nurmagomedov's tools. I think he's able to implement his tools.
I'm telling you, Barboza, he's gonna keep this standing. You'll see, and it's gonna be amazing.
Okay.
I think either way, we're gonna learn a lot in this fight. So what's funny? I went back and I looked at who's the last good wrestler that Barboza has fought, and just like off the top of my head, I was like, I don't know. You got to go all the way back to like Danny Castillo to find just like a wrestling first fighter who's pushing the takedowns on Barboza. You know what I mean? And that was like 3-4 years ago. I don't know if you could learn enough about Barboza from a fight that old. I'm sure he's gotten better, but my problem with Barboza actually isn't his inability to stop takedowns. Like you said, Branscombe is a good defensive wrestler, which is exactly what you need if you're going to be a high-octane Muay Thai striker in the octagon. But Barboza gets boxed up a little bit too much for me to pick him against somebody who just wades in with overhand rights until he does get to the clinch. Like that's how Danny Castillo got to him. He just wasn't protecting his face right. Got caught with a right hand and then entered right into a double, put him on his butt, and just killed him in that first round. Got a 10-8 round against Barboza. We've seen him get hurt with right hands before. Remember his first loss? Jamie fucking Varner, dude. Like came back from the dead and TKO'd him, just right hands again. And Barboza just has this problem like a lot of really good kickboxers do, where they fall in love with their feet and they lose track of their defensive boxing. Anderson Silva had that problem too. I'm not saying Khabib is going to outstrike him. He's definitely not. But if you look at Khabib's rigid striking, I mean, the one thing that he throws to enter, to get into his takedowns, he throws a pretty good overhand right, like off the edge of his combos. Like, I just have this vision in my head where he's pushing forward with his jab and just hucks this ridiculous overhand right, catches Barboza with it. Barboza shudders back onto the fence, and Khabib throws him upside down in the center of the ring, and Khabib smash, man. I can't get that vision out of my head, and I think Barboza will stop some takedowns, but I just don't think he's gonna do enough damage before he gets put on his back. You know what I mean? Like he's not gonna be able to either. He has to win 2 rounds and then survive the third, or he has to finish Khabib, which there's no data out there to convince me that that's the most likely scenario. I think the odds are too wide for my liking, for Khabib being gone for so long, for Edson being on this pretty good run. But I definitely still favor Khabib. I don't know if it's going to be a finish, but I mean, even look at all of Barboza's losses. Most of them come from getting caught and then getting finished. It's not like he loses decisions, really. I mean, look at Donald Cerrone. He got caught with a jab, or maybe it was a left hook, and then he just jumped on his back and finished him. Jamie Varner, he got caught with the right hand and TKO'd. Danny Castillo, he won that fight by a majority decision, but he had a 10-8 first round where he almost got finished. that was another one he just got caught with. Danny Castillo just wading in with a right hand and then taking him down and just going to town on him. And that's exactly what I see happening in this Khabib fight. It's just not a good way to consistently lose, you know? And when you get to that high level, people are going to catch you with something. You have to be able to fight through that adversity and then turn the fight back in your favor. And Barboza he crumbles a little bit too much for me. And instead of getting back into the fight later, he just gives the whole rest of the fight away because he's surviving or just trying to survive or only prioritizes surviving and doesn't take risks. That shit ain't going to cut it against Khabib. He's going to be there ripping your arm off.
What do we think are the chances that he gets too scared to throw those legs? I mean,
I think he actually has to.
With someone who is just waiting to grab a hold of a leg flying up at you, you know, you might get away with some very, very low, that calf kick that has become popular. Mm-hmm. But if you get those legs up around body and head height, you're worried about, you know, this guy, if he just gets his fingertips on you, he's pulling you into some sort of clinch, and you're not getting away. You're getting smothered and blanketed. Here's the thing, though. Barboza, I mean, he practices with monsters. I mean, he's up there at Almeida's place with Mark Henry and all them.
He's got Frankie Edgar. He's got Eddie Alvarez
and Weidman all around that same area.
I mean, that's a great point. So what does that mean? What does Barboza have to do to be effective to throw leg kicks? He has to be pushing Khabib back. You know what I mean? That's the only safe. That's the only safe time to throw those leg kicks if you're worried about being taken down is when you're pushing someone like a wrestler backwards because they're not going to shoot off a back step. I don't know if Barboza can set that tempo with his punches. Mm-hmm. And that's why he would definitely have to be aggressive.
He's going to have to implement a jab and the leg kicks, I think, in order to be effective this fight. If he doesn't, well, Khabib's going to win.
What are the chances he could strike lightning twice and land another one of those uppercut knees, flying knees on a shooter? Oh my God, that was Dariush. That was so beautiful, so beautifully timed.
And he was losing that Dariush fight though.
Yeah.
And it was a striking match. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he was just letting himself get pushed back. He was letting Dariush be the aggressor. He can't do that with Khabib. You can't let Khabib aggress on you. You know, that's his whole game plan. And Barboza has trouble taking over fights like that, even striking only matches. You know, he wants to be the counterpuncher, and this is just this is not a good matchup for him.
I'm still choosing him.
Yeah,
we haven't swayed Smith one bit.
Nope, not at all.
I just think this is going to be the card of underdogs. I'm telling you.
It does have a weird aura about it. I mean, there's nothing saying that Barboza couldn't, like Branscombe just said, jump in with a knee as Khabib rushes in, and that could be all over, right? Would you even be surprised if that's how it ended, you know? So, I'm taking Khabib.
But yeah, we'll definitely know in the first round what's up.
Smith is taking Barboza. Now, whoever wins this, what happens? Are they awarded the double interim championship belt, or like what's going on? Are they gonna fight? Are they gonna fight Tony Ferguson? Is Tony Ferguson gonna defend his interim belt before Conor McGregor comes back and unifies the real belt?
I believe so. I believe the big fight after this one will be, you know, Nurmagomedov versus Ferguson. You know, it's been slated a couple of times.
Yes.
Been pulled off a couple of times. My heart has been broken a couple of times.
That's right. I need that fight in my life, and I will cry till Christmas till I get it.
Yeah, let Conor be Conor and do whatever it is he's doing. That's the fight I really want to see.
When is Conor coming back?
Dude.
Yes. Yeah. Uh-huh.
How about never? I mean.
All right. Sure.
We could do a whole nother episode on that. So let's move the fuck on. Okay, headlining UFC 219 on the end of the year card, or the almost New Year's Eve card, is Cris Cyborg taking on Holly Holm. Real quick on the odds for this fight, Cyborg is a -360 favorite, and Holly Holm comes back at +270. Holly Holm, of course, is moving up to 145 to take on Cyborg. This fight was talked about for a while. The last couple of years, they were dabbling in the possibility of putting it together. Of course, they could never get to an agreeable weight class for this. Holly Holm always said, okay, sure, as long as she gets down to 135, which, of course, we all know is not possible with Cyborg, given that she wants to keep the muscle she has on her body. Cyborg has made 140 before. There were talks and whispers about it being at 140. And now Holly Holm finally is just moving straight up to 145 to take on Cyborg. I gotta think the UFC paid her a lot of money to do that. I think they're giving her a pretty penny to take this fight at featherweight against Cyborg. So once again, Cyborg comes in at minus 360. Holly Holm, the underdog, at plus 270. This is 5 rounds for the most prestigious belt in the UFC, of course, after
Jermaine.
Thank you. JDR vacated the belt, essentially running away from Cyborg.
Her hands were hurt.
Yeah.
She'll fight anybody until that name came up. Then her hands. Oh.
Literally dropped the belt to avoid that fight.
I got stuff to do.
Yeah. So, the most prestigious belt in the UFC, the women's 145. There's at least 3 girls in that division sometimes. Okay, maybe now there's 2.
I think there might be 2 right now.
I think there's 2, and guess what? They're fighting for the title. Hey, if you got 2 people in division, you got to sort it out and figure out who the champion is. So that's what this fight's for. Yes. Okay. Seriously, though, in a vacuum, where we at least get to see Cyborg finally tested with, I would say this is the most talented fighter she's ever fought. Am I wrong in saying that?
I actually wasn't impressed by Cyborg's last fight. I'm just putting that out there.
I mean,
it's tough.
It almost looked like maybe she was holding back. She wasn't sure of her own endurance. I don't really know what was going on in that fight, to be honest with you. But Holly Holm is such a better technical striker. Like, if there's someone that's going to have a huge upset, it's going to be Holly Holm. She took out Ronda Rousey. She could take out Cyborg. So that's where I'm at right now. This is my upset of the night. I'm saying Holm.
Holly Holm head kick is going to make a return and shock the world again.
She shocked the world with Ronda. Why not with Cyborg?
Yeah, and then went on a 3-fight losing streak.
Hey, man. Sometimes when you reach the top, dude, it's all downhill,
Yeah, I've got a couple thoughts on this fight, but Branscombe, where's your head at for these 2 women?
My heart is with Holly Holm, Preacher's daughter. My heart is totally with her. I think this fight poses a lot of positives for her, even though Cris Cyborg is, probably going to be a little bit of a bigger fighter, not much of a bigger fighter, and probably maybe one of the most athletic people that Holly has faced, and then also it's reciprocally the same. But Holly Holm, with her boxing and kickboxing background, she is a counter striker. She does her best work, no matter what, if someone is pushing forward on her. And Cris Cyborg might be a tailor-made opponent for her, just like Ronda Rousey was a tailor-made opponent for her. She likes to get on that bicycle, work lateral movement, side to side, big circles, get you coming in where she can lay traps. And Cyborg, that's how she fights. She's got that shoot-a-box, looks like a female version of Vanderlei Silva, just coming berserker straight at you.
In a dress?
In a dress with the wig on.
That's Dana White said that, not me, by the way.
She comes at you full force. And this might be a tailor-made fight for Holly Holm. If anybody can knock out Cyborg or at least eke out a decision.
Are you choosing Holm on this?
I might be. I also think that Holly is smart enough to get out of the first couple of 3 rounds. She's we've never seen her knocked out except for in boxing a long time ago.
And she came back and beat that girl.
Yeah, so what, I'm gonna go out on the limb. I'm gonna go for the Preacher's daughter. I'm gonna say she's
not a boy.
She's gonna be this is the fight made for her. We've seen Cris Cyborg over the last 9 years fighting some pretty big tuna cans in MMA. You know, there hasn't been a whole lot out there, so we don't know, you know, what she's worth. I've seen Holly in there. You know, her 3-fight losing streak. I mean, she went out like a stud against Tate. She was winning, you know, arguably winning. You know, it might have been tied going into that last round with Tate, and she got caught in that rear naked choke, and she went out punching. I don't think I saw the Shevchenko fight. If I do not remember it. I did see the Durandamy fight. I thought it was possibly her a slight edge, not to mention she probably should have had, you know, not counting the points she should have had, you know, Durandamy should have had taken away.
So not counting the points though, who did you think won that fight?
I thought Holly won it.
Really?
And that might have been me just leaning hard for her, but I thought she looked better.
Okay, let me ask a different question. Who do you think won the striking exchange portions of that fight?
I would say more often than not, Durandamy. I mean, that I just got a soft spot for it. I'm calling Holly Holm. I'm not going to defend any more of my choices, decisions, or any of the statements I've made any further to you, Matt. Okay, I'm not going to back them up whatsoever.
I mean,
I'm making these statements. I'm laying them down, and you have to do with them what you want.
God, I've just never heard such love for Holly Holm. You better hope your fucking wife's not listening to this podcast, man.
Well, first off, I'm 5'7". I don't think we would make a good dance partners, if you will.
Is she taller than you? How tall is she?
She's 5'8".
Yeah. Well, you know, you can wear some of those padded up boots or something. It'd be all right.
Unless Chuck Taylor start making heels for guys, I'm probably not going to have a pair.
That's true. Well, at the very least, you could teach her some wrestling because it wasn't looking so good in her JDR fight. But hey.
Yeah.
Okay.
That JDR she's a big girl too, wasn't she? I mean, she's I mean, a solid 45 or probably coming down. You know.
No, she fights at 135. You know, same as Holly. I would say her and Holly are two of the bigger 135s.
Mm-hmm.
But
you may think that it comes down to money, and that's why she took this fight. But I think she actually thinks she's gonna win this, and that's saying something, dude.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go out there. Right, I'm gonna have a good fight, and I'm gonna do a good thing, and you know, I'm probably gonna win this. So calm. She's not rattled right now. Everything I've seen of her.
She's the GSP of women's MMA. Like, she's the consummate professional. She just, yeah. I mean, all her interviews. I'll just be honest, they're boring as fuck to me. I see no personality, but that's fine. I don't know. Let's pile on the crazy here.
Boring as fuck.
Aren't you know what though? It worked for GSP all those years, but people just want crazy now, man.
Dude, GSP's not boring though. His three favorite things, the only three things that excite him in the world: dinosaurs, women, and f***ing in the octagon. I love how dinosaurs is up
Wait,
there.
who was making fun of him? It was the last fight, right? Bisping? He's like, what? He only owned one suit? Like he always wears the same suit all the time?
Yeah.
I don't know. He's a funny dude.
Anyways, all right, Smith, are you taking Holly Holm? So
yes.
Add it on.
Yeah, why? I'm going Holly Holm too.
Why do you think she's going to win?
I think because
I think she's a better technical fighter. Right.
What I laid out, she's a counter striker. I think she's going to be able to be on the back pedal. I'm saying maybe we get this into the third, fourth round. You know, Cyborg's been chasing her around, hitting nothing but air. I mean, Holly can take a punch too. We've seen her take good punches. I mean, she'll be able to hang around. And now you got Cyborg, who's probably coming down from 170, who doesn't like making 145. You know, either she couldn't make 35. Hated making 140. She almost died. Does not like making 145 either. Remember, she pushed off her title fight because she didn't think she could get down in 2 months. You know, this is tough for her as well.
That was bullshit. That was her bad. You remember when Dana White, on his like tirade of dissing Cyborg, was like, she comes down to 135 or she doesn't fight at all. It was like straight up like Beauty and the Beast. You know, she eats dinner with me or she doesn't eat at all.
Yeah.
But then Cyborg like brought a doctor's note.
Literally saying she would die or something, right?
Yes. She
and he's like, well,
to these
if she dies, she dies.
Yeah. And she was like, this note says that if I make 135, I'll die. And Dana White was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, yes, I think you're all fucking crazy for picking Holly Holm.
I can't, after watching that Ronda fight, I didn't really like Holly Holm up until that fight, dude. Even after, it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. But she has the tool set to make this work, I think. I think she does.
Okay, well, let me just give my spiel real quick. First of all, I don't like this fight because I'm sick of seeing Cyborg fight 135-pound women. I don't like it. I don't want to see it anymore. But in a vacuum, this is the most talented opponent that Cyborg's ever had. So in a vacuum, this will be fun to see how this plays out. And at the very least, it'll be a good test for Cris Cyborg. That being said, I mean, Holly Holm, love her to death. Great girl. Preacher's daughter. I think we're going to see
end
her
up in the fetal position.
I think we're going to see her get hurt pretty bad here, guys. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't be surprised. I can remember having a gaggle of people over at my house
For the Gina Crawford.
Oh my God. And nobody had a good time. It did not end well. You see Cyborg just posted over top of her. Gina in the fetal position, just eating ground and pound punches to her face.
Gave her a chance too. Like, he did not stop that early.
Yeah, no. Gina was tough. She was a tough guy because she was. I thought she was out a few times before the final finale.
Like, was she even a real fighter though? Wasn't she just taking some kickboxing classes?
No, dude, she was pretty good. What was going on back then? For the fighters that were out, yeah.
Did you see her in Deadpool? She was a great fighter. Yeah.
Okay. Let me take this seriously for a minute, though. The problem I have with picking Holly Holm in this fight is that, for all of Holly Holm's technique, she just hasn't pulled the trigger in the UFC like we've seen in her boxing fights. If you go back and watch some of her boxing fights, she's pretty aggressive. But I think that comes from her being confident, hiding behind the gloves, in her defensive positions, and you don't get that same luxury in MMA. We see Alistair Overeem fight completely different than when he fought in K1 because he knows he can't take the same shots. So that level of striking doesn't always translate in just a complete parallel discussion. With Holly Holm, I've been unimpressed with her boxing game and more impressed with her kicking game, which is weird for a world champion boxer, right? A lot of these fights, she just is not anywhere close with her strikes. It's clear that she's just using her strikes to set up kicks, especially that head kick. She's always looking for that. She knows that's her best strike. That's how she's finished at least 3 or 4 fights, 2 in the UFC. But my problem with Holly is even aside from the ish bullshit where she, really perpetuates that sound before the strike comes. You know what I mean? Where some fighters exhale with a loud sound before the strike comes. It's like a martial arts technique that a lot of the girls use it. A lot of the women use it. With her though, sometimes she really telegraphs what she's about to throw. It's it's overkill. And against the JDR fight, she was just. I'm not talking about she's missing with her striking combinations by inches. I'm talking feet, not even in the same phone booth, and it's clear that she's just throwing those to set up the kicks, and just I don't think that's gonna be effective against Cyborg, and Cyborg she's not just a brute force striker anymore. She used to be when she just started. I remember she pulled Gina Carano into mount in that fight, if you remember that. Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. But she's not just.
Yeah, but let me ask you this though. Cyborg in the last couple of years, do you think that the people that she has fought are at the caliber of Holly Holm?
No.
Okay. So, also, would you agree that Holly Holm is probably, out of all those women, the better of the counter punchers, or if you want to go by that counter fighting?
Yes.
Okay, so don't you think that she has the best chance out of all the women that she's fought?
Yes.
Well, there you go.
And I still think she's going to get blown out of the water.
I don't think so, dude. I just haven't been impressed by Cyborg.
I haven't been impressed by Holly Holm, though. Here's the thing. When she went on her 3-fight losing streak, like, if you did not watch any of those fights and you just scrolled down Wikipedia and you saw 3 losses, you would probably think, like, oh, Holly Holm, 3-fight losing streak. Man, she must have ran into some tough wrestlers and just got held down. No. She lost striking matches. Not boxing matches, striking matches in mixed martial arts. She got outstruck by Valentina Shevchenko. She got outstruck by JDR. And then the Miesha Tate, yes, okay, she got outgrappled. But, like, she's losing. Her striking is just not as effective as everyone wants it to be. You know, even the Betch Correa fight. God, that was awful. I mean, I don't even know who you would give those rounds to until the head kick, you know, and that's not going to be enough against Cris Cyborg. Like, I see what you guys are thinking in your heads. Maybe like round 3, 4, she makes it into there. Cris Cyborg starts missing a lot. She's huffing and puffing. She's carrying around all that muscle, getting a little tired. And then boom, eats a head kick. And Holly Holm, the first female double weight champion. Dude, I just that is in the 10% possibility in my head. The 90% is that Cyborg just mauls her against the fence in round 2 or 3. And like I said, she's not just a brute force striker anymore. She's moving her head, she's jabbing, she's a tight Muay Thai fighter now. And even if you go back and look at Cyborg fighting in her kickboxing career, she fought that kickboxing champion Jorina Bears, something like that, and she lost. Okay, so we saw her ceiling a couple years ago in what a striker, you know, how that translates into kickboxing. But Jorina Bars was like 43-0. I mean, she is legit as fuck. and then in the most typical MMA is unpredictable thing, you scroll down and you see that well, then why doesn't she do MMA? Well, she did, and she's 1-3, and the only fight she won was by submission. So what the fuck does that tell you? Anyways, like, yeah, I think Cyborg could win the striking match. I understand that Holly's probably the more technical striker, but she's not the more effective one. And that's what matters when you're in there in a cage fight. And furthermore, nobody's even talking about this. You don't think that Cyborg could go in there and just wrestle her down and brutalize her with elbows on the mat? Like, she absolutely could do that if she wanted to. She just hasn't wanted to do that. People forget about her ground game.
I think Cyborg has an endurance issue. I think it's going to come out this fight, dude.
Does she? I don't know. Have we seen her get tired? They haven't gone long enough for us to see her get tired.
Well, the last fight was 3 rounds, and I was just unimpressed the entire time.
Man, it looked like she was just doing the bare minimum to just fuck around until she won. I'm sorry, but...
Well, but maybe she's doing that because she doesn't feel
Tanya, I'm
confident
sure
in
she
herself.
put the fight in places where she could survive and not generate offense, but survive. So.
Who'd you say was the... what were the odds on this one?
Minus 360 for Cyborg, plus 270.
Well, on the UFC odds, it's 295 for Holm.
Yeah, I'm looking at. I use Bovada, but so here, just to put it in perspective, let's look at the last couple opponents that Cyborg has fought, and I'll read the odds for those. So Cyborg against Holly Holm, the furthest it ever got was minus 400. Cyborg versus Tanya Evinger. Cyborg got down to minus 1,400.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was Cyborg versus Lena Landsberg. This was in the UFC as well. Cyborg got down to minus 1,200. Then there was Cyborg versus Leslie Smith. This was the first time she fought in the UFC. Minus 2,000. Dude, that's some like 1999 Fedor odds. Like, that's insane.
Yes, but she's also fighting people that barely have Wikipedia pages. I mean,
yeah.
But look,
fighting
again,
out of their weight class.
She's still fighting out of her weight class. Holly Holm is fighting out of her weight class. Like, I hate that Cyborg is just all we see.
What
is
happens to this division? Does it dissolve after Cyborg? Or do we actually have people like gonna go into this? Because
oh well, okay. To be fair, you've got Megan Anderson, who is the Invicta FC 145-pound champion, but she is green as fuck. I mean, I think they're grooming her.
It just wouldn't be
Cyborg.
fair though to like bring these up and coming or new people into the UFC, for example, fight someone like Cyborg because she's the only person in the division. Like, what the fuck good does that do?
Dude, that's just life. That's all it is. That's the women's.
They just need to get. You know what they just need to do? No matter what happens from this, I think they just need to get rid of this division.
Yeah, but they're not going to because they want Cyborg to have a belt. They just give her a belt. They have her fight fucking tomato cans forever. People watch it, and who cares? That's it. None's the wiser.
Until Holly Holm takes it from her.
Yeah, so that's why this fight is fun, because Holly Holm is not a tomato can.
Yeah.
She's like fine sun-dried tomatoes.
I think she's gonna win, dude.
Dude, look how
I really do. Like, out of
Okay.
all the fights on this card, I'm like the most confident in this one. That's how confident I am.
Okay, with that, I'm taking Cyborg. Branscombe and Smith are taking Holly Holm, the Preach's daughter.
I think Branscombe wants
how
to
do you
change
think she's
his
going to do
decision.
it, though? Is it going to be her head kick? It's not going to be decision, right?
Dude, no. Wow.
I think she takes her. I think she takes her into 4th or 5th round. Maybe wins by decision. Maybe wins by a head kick knockout.
Well, think about it this way, though. Have we seen Cyborg in a 4th, 5th round? No.
Never.
So if it does go there, I think she's got a chance, actually. She only has to win 1 out of the first 3. I like those odds. I think Holly Holm's got good endurance.
The furthest that Cyborg has ever been taken into a 5th round fight is round 4. And that was 4 years ago against Marlies Kunin in Invicta. So, just that piece of data for you. Okay, anyways.
So when she was doing steroids.
Lots. All of them.
That finishes off the pay-per-view card. Pretty decent pay-per-view. A little lacking in the prelims, but okay, let's move over to the listener mail real quick. Jason from Seattle writes in, over or under on the pay-per-view, 300,000. Pay-per-view buy rate.
I don't know.
Honestly, outside of the hardcore fans, other than Holly Holm, who might be the only recognizable name because of the Ronda Rousey fight.
You don't think Khabib adds anything?
Unfortunately, no.
I don't think so.
He could run through the studio naked right now and nobody would recognize him, and nobody would know who that was. There's no way. I think under 300,000.
I think under 2.
Yeah. Maybe under 2.
I would think I meant under also, but
under as well.
Yeah. I would see like a 225, 250 thing. That's where my head's at here. Okay.
Smoker's whole family is gonna call in, or they're gonna pay for it.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to see if he's gonna stay on the roster.
All of Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Mark from Texas writes in, where do the main headliners go from here? So after this fight, what happens to Cyborg and Holly Holm? I guess, Smith, you were sort of already talking about this, but
yeah. Well, I guess if Holmes wins, right, they'll want to do a rematch depending on how ridiculous it was.
Yeah, or maybe they'll bring somebody up for Holm to fight. You know?
Who? Bring him out of 135. You're saying?
Yeah.
Tonya Evans.
This is dumb.
For the belt again.
But then this is the dumbest thing ever, because then you're really just having 135s fighting at 145.
That's right, but you get
maybe we have a super fight between Amanda Nunes versus Holly Holm.
What I think they want to eventually get to somehow. They wanted to make that fight, and they just haven't been able to because Holly's just not putting the win streak together. I don't think this fight is gonna help her, but if Holly wins, yeah, I guess they could do the rematch, or they do a super fight. Yeah, they do a super fight with Amanda Nunes, Holly Holm. They both have a belt. They make a big deal out of it.
But this is all contingent on Holly winning. What happens if Cyborg holds the belt?
Okay, so if Cyborg...
I think Amanda Nunes is game, and she'll go fight Cyborg. Maybe at a catch weight. Let's do it at 140.
But then you won't have both belts there. I don't know.
There'd have to be a belt on the line, right? If there's a catch weight, there's no belt on the line.
Yeah, you would want a belt on the line for a super fight, but they could,
especially if it's going to headline.
If I'm Amanda Nunes, I'm taking that fight. Win or lose, you're going to come out okay.
That is true.
I don't know if Amanda Nunes has ever talked about that fight before. I'm not sure how open she is to that. I would watch that. Amanda Nunes is a strong, tough girl. Good ground game. She's kind of like a Cyborg light, now that I'm thinking of it. But I think they could also bring over Megan Anderson from Invicta. She's the 145-pound champion. I think she's like 7-0, but she's just so inexperienced. I just don't even want to see that. At least she's a real 145er though.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you take what you get. You get experienced 135ers to fight Cyborg, or you get inexperienced 145ers to fight. You just can't. The division is just so underpopulated that this is where we're at. So
if Holly takes her into deep water, catches her with a beautiful question mark kick upside her head, puts her on the ground, she reaches up, gets knocked down there. Is the Cyborg experiment over? Is the UFC saying, okay, we tried this. You come with a lot of baggage. You kind of pick when you want to fight. Everybody's always going to talk about your steroid abuse or your thing there. Is that the end of the 45-pound division?
I don't think so. I mean, unfortunately for the 145-pound division, which I want to see be dissolved, but I think that Cyborg makes some money, man. When they have her fight in Brazil, people watch.
Mm-hmm.
They headline her on those fight cards. They just put her in there with the fucking broomstick, and people will watch it. So
can I just say, every time I've ever heard Cyborg talk, or in any interview, or any kind of one-on-one situation on like a fight, on one of the build-ups or anything, she seems like a delightful person. Like no joking around. She seems like a genuinely nice, just hardworking athlete.
I've heard that she's a good person. She's fun to be around, but it's just her team. Her team is so hard to work with, like hard to schedule interviews, like hard to get her to places, hard to, they make high demands.
Isn't she out of Bisping's camp? Isn't that her head coach?
Oh yeah. Oh fuck.
Pirelli.
Jason Perillo.
Yeah, Perillo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He used to be BJ Penn's boxing coach. He was a Bisping boxing coach, and now he's Cyborg's boxing coach. Yeah. Yep. That's who it is. But no, I don't know. She has like a management team, and I guess they're hard to work with, hard to get her places, hard to compromise with. So I think any of the negative connotation besides the fan backlash probably comes from that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think she sticks around even if she loses. They'll find somebody else for her to fight at 145, and then maybe do a rematch with a fight down the road. I mean, she's not getting any younger either. Remember, she's 32. I think Holly's like 30. What?
6,
4, 5,
36.
6. Damn,
she's up there. She's 36, I believe.
She's been fighting forever. Yeah. Okay.
She is 36 years old. Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild. All right. So, without further ado, let's wrap this up. This has been episode 7 of Tomorrow's Fights podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Tomorrow's Fights. Everything else is on our website, tomorrowsfights.com. Follow us on Twitter. We'll be live blogging with the fight on Saturday night for UFC 220, which is going to be a heavyweight and light heavyweight title fight. Stipe Miocic, Francis Ngannou, and DC returns to take on Volkan Ozdemir. That's going to be a great card.
If he's not in jail.
If he's not in jail. That'll be the next episode we do. That'll be episode 8. So send us your questions and comments for that. You can email us at tomorrowsfights@gmail.com. Get us at Twitter. Send us a fake Facebook message. And don't forget to like the YouTube video and subscribe. That is all I got. You guys have any parting words?
I just want to go on note that we're probably the first MMA podcast to get a Beauty and the Beast reference in, and we did that today, somewhere in the Nurmagomedov breakdown. So if y'all find that little Easter egg nugget,
I laid that down. We also might be the first one to be hosted by 3 people with the same first name, which is fucking great. And probably also the first one where 2 out of 3 panelists are picking Holly Holm over Cyborg. So great job, guys. All right. With that, I'm going to sign us off. This has been Tomorrow's Fights. We will see you Saturday night. Adios.
I don't need you to tell me how fucking good my coffee is, okay? I'm the one who buys it. I know how good it is.